In the spirit of reconciliation, the New Blurt acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, blurtsters, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the Blurt.
Good evening. Happy birthday, Wency. I'm just going to get into it really quickly. You are listening to the New Blurt. Yes, it's our 50th anniversary, our 50th podcast. And we weren't sure if we'd get here or not, but we did. And if you are following us live at the moment, you would realize that Dan Illic will be live with us from A Rational Fear podcast, probably in about 10, 15 minutes time. And he'll talk all about his billboard campaign. So I normally do a rundown of the show, but just timing tonight, we'll go through the show as we do. How are you, Wency? How are you going, buddy?
Greetings, happy 50th. I never thought we'd get this far either, but hey, we're here and still enjoying it. So, yay, congratulations.
Absolutely. Congratulations to us. I haven't opened it yet. I'm just about to.
Open it up because I
will. I'll see if I can get a pop on. See if we can get a pop on screen. Here we go. Oh, it just shouldn't be this hard. Seriously. Godfather. Oh, it's just going to be a screw job. I think it's just a screw job. Oh, come on. It's just a...
Oh, what?
Pop.
Yes.
That's all you get. So, yeah. But at least I've got bubbles and, good pop there, though. Look at that. Nice.
Oh, beautiful.
Happy birthday,
Cheers,
buddy.
Happy birthday.
Cheers, Blurtsters. Thanks for joining us. Well, that's not bad for $5, I've got to tell you.
It's a small bottle.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's okay. I can actually stomach that stuff, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so what we'll do tonight, Wednesdays, we'll have a new segment we've spoken about a few times. Green there, done that. I actually got the sting together this week so we can play it before Dan comes on because he will be a guest for Green there, done that, which is pretty cool. Considering it's our first time we've ever had the segment, that's a good way to start it off, I reckon.
It's not the first time we've had the segment.
Green there, done that. Oh, no, that is,
we've had it.
It's the first time we've had the sting. It's the first time we've had the sting.
First sting, yes.
But I think we've only ever done it once before, I believe.
I think so. I think it's just the once.
This would be a good way to kick it in the arse. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So how's your week been anyway?
Not too bad until this morning I woke up and I couldn't get Facebook or WhatsApp. So disappointed.
Yeah, I saw that message and I just went, eh.
Yeah, same. It's funny. I'm in a Facebook, a WhatsApp group from Chile from the time that I was there many years ago. And
good. They're spying on you nicely. Okay, excellent.
Yes. School friends. And when I woke up this morning, I thought, why are these guys on Telegram at the moment? And I just didn't think twice about it. And then when I heard Facebook was down and WhatsApp was down, I realized, they've gone to Telegram. And that's where they're doing all their chats. And like you said, I just went, whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not getting in that Telegram app. I tell you, they've got some super dodgy channels in there.
Yeah. Especially with the recent protests around Melbourne and Telegram being used to gather all the dickheads out there to mass protest.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, Wency. They use that across the world. I mean, and they use it to coordinate, you know. Yeah. So, but it's interesting because the police are now infiltrating those channels. So they're sort of getting a step ahead to know, you know, where they are before they start, sort of thing. So, but no, it is interesting. While I do have this little bit of time, what I will say is on tonight's show, we've got On This Day, Green There, Done That, and Do Yourself a Favor. Do Yourself a Favor, if you haven't listened to before, is all about the best podcast that Wency and myself have been listening to in the last, I don't know, few weeks, months, whatever. I tend to pick another one up every week, as I'm sure you do, Wency. And, and obviously, our guest tonight, Rational Fear is one that I am listening to quite frequently and enjoying very much. They've had some fantastic guests on there. So,
and it was one that we reviewed on this show several weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have anything for on this day, but I will get something. You've excellent. You've sorted the team out there nicely.
Yes,
that's good to see.
I'll pick up the slack.
Pick up the slack. No, that's good. That's good. No, that's very, very good. What I did want to say though is that you sent me a message today to say there was another coal mine going ahead. Is that right? We're winning the race in coal mines.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, just because it's a dying industry doesn't mean we're going to give it up that easily. We do it differently here in Australia.
Yes.
So that's just the way our government works.
So, can you elaborate on the story a little, or what's the situation? I haven't got right across it.
Okay. So there's a Mangoola coal. Excuse me, is the mine. I think it was in New South Wales. They've been given the green light, or the black light, to extract 52 million tons over the next 8 years. So it's the third one in a month that the government has approved. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So good on Senator Susan Lee, or Lay. I don't know how you pronounce her surname. Has decided.
Susan Lee. You're talking about Susan Lee.
Yes.
She's definitely got climate on her mind. No doubt about it whatsoever.
No doubt. But, the hotter it gets, the better. I think she is her mantra.
Well, she probably deserves one of these, I reckon.
Why you being a dickhead for? Stop being a dickhead.
Yep.
Because we definitely have to stop. Now, our guest, I believe, is in the waiting room, and I don't want to keep them waiting too long. So what we're going to do is just go straight into our sting, and then we're going to welcome that wonderful guest.
But these fires are certainly not a function of climate change. They're just a function of life in Australia.
Why would a scientist want to change people's vote? I mean, this is you saw the spin over the past week as they drip fed.
A poll that came out last month, which found 1 in 4 Americans is skeptical about the effects of climate change and thinks this issue's been exaggerated.
It's cold.
You're listening to Green There, Done That on the New Blurt with Wency and the Kickstar.
This is the new segment called Green There, Done That. It's all about climate change and what we need to do to slow it down. Renewable energy sources, investment. I could go on, blah, blah, blah. But who better to start the segment off? None other than Dan Illic from Many Things and currently a Rational Fear podcast. Welcome, Dan, to the podcast.
Hey, Wency and the Kickstar. How's it going?
Yeah,
good, mate.
Very good, mate.
How things down in Sydney?
Pretty good. You know, I'm just living my best lockdown life. I've lost about 10 kilos in lockdown this time round, which is great. So very thankful for that. Very thankful. So I'm going to be leaving lockdown a new man next week. I think it's being locked away from all the delicious Parmigiana and cafe food in my area.
Lattes as well.
No, that's true. Well, I'm off the lattes. I've weaned myself off the lattes the last couple of years. So, it's just getting away from that yummy food. So it's been good for me. It's been not too bad.
So at the moment, obviously, you've got the billboard campaign going on, and I see that you were trying to get 3 billboards funded, and then I think now you're going for $1 million. Is that right? It's just gone off the charts.
Yeah, why not? Like, I made the target of $12,225 in 2 hours. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to need more than that for the election. So I set the goal. After earning like the $30,000 in 24 hours. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to set the goal nice and big so we can make a mess during the election. So I said, I'm going to put it out $1 million. I'm going to fund billboards, but not only that, I'm going to make content for the election to try and get some climate change people who at least believe in climate change in Parliament.
Yes.
So we're going to be attacking fossil fuel funded candidates throughout the election campaign with that $1 million. I don't have it yet. I've only got 13% of that. So I've only got $132,000, which is a disgrace. And I am furious at the lack of conviction of the Australian people that they won't give me $1 million to turn into comedy for their enjoyment and for their long-term benefit.
Come on, we need some happiness in our life.
Yes, we do. We do indeed.
Look,
I think Joke Keep. Go for it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've called it. Yeah, I've started to call it Joke Keeper. I've moved away from the billboards. I'm calling it Joke Keeper. We've got a bunch of great rewards for folks. One of the best rewards I added today. Who Gives a Crap reached out last week to wanted to be part of the campaign, and so we've developed a pack of 6 limited edition climate change toilet paper wraps you can buy. So they're going at $500. So that's at $100 a roll. It's very expensive.
Well, I think with the amount of people that have been ransacking shelves in the last few years, I mean, they'll just go like hotcakes, no doubt.
Yeah, totally, yeah. They'll go like toilet paper in a pandemic. Yeah. We've already sold it's only been up for a few hours. We've already sold 5. But here's the thing: if we sell 70 out of those 100, I can afford a billboard in Times Square, and that's what I'm looking for tonight. I'm trying to raise 30,000 this week so I can get this billboard in Times Square. That's the ultimate goal right now. So I'm really focused on that, trying to figure out like how much it's going to cost, where it's going to be, if it's going to look good on TV, all that stuff. Yeah.
Is there any way that you can actually get one on Trump Tower? Is that a possibility?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'll have to see. I'll have to see if that's possible. Trump Tower, big shiny building in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. There's 2 Trump Towers. There's Trump Tower International, which is at Columbus Circle. There's actually 5 or 6 Trump Towers on Manhattan. There's Columbus Circle, which is Trump International Hotel. Then there's Trump Tower itself, the main Trump Tower. That is Midtown, kind of a few blocks down south of Central Park. And then there's the Trump Hotel, which is in the financial district. And then up in the west side, there was 2 Trump apartment buildings, but all of the owners of those apartment buildings in 2016 got together as a body corporate and decided to remove the Trump name from those buildings, so they're no longer Trump buildings.
That's fantastic. That's what we like to hear on this show. Very much so. Very much so. So I know that the whole idea was to get the billboards up for COP26. Have you got any other sort of pranks sorted for COP26 at all? Is there anything else you're trying to infiltrate into there?
It's very fortunate that when we started this campaign, somebody reached out to me to say, you know what, I'm in charge of 7 hours of programming for the projection on the side of the Scottish Exhibition Centre in Glasgow, where the conference is being taken place. And he said, would you like to have some of that time for your billboards? And I said, yes, I would. Thank you very much. So that was Damon Gebo, an Australian actor and climate activist who's kind of looking after the Australian contingent for that. So we're going to be able to put our billboards on the actual side of the convention centre throughout the week. So that's very, very exciting stuff. That's one thing we got planned. Hopefully we can find some more billboard space with this extra money around Glasgow. We're going to do that. Hopefully we can find a poster vendor who can do a poster campaign around Glasgow as well, since that's generally a pretty cheap kind of effective way of putting up a message quickly. So yeah, we've got a couple of things planned. So we'll see how that goes. And anything we kind of got left over, I'm really excited to pour into Australia. Already I bought a billboard in Armidale, so everyone's chipped in for that. That's good. That's in the electorate of Barnaby Joyce, and then we've got a billboard in Kooyong, so in Hawthorne, around the corner from Josh Frydenberg's. Yes, old Josh Frydenberg's office. So we've got that billboard going up October 25th, and now I'm also looking
as we get out of lockdown in here. Oh, that'd be great.
Perfect. People can go see it. Also, I'm looking at climate-related billboards to buy in Suva and Nauru and Cook Islands as well. So just to apologise to people that live there on behalf of Australia, Australians.
As their island sinks,
as their world goes underwater.
On behalf of Dutton, after his comments a few years ago about.
Yes, they're on
climate
island
change.
time. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Terrible.
So I've noticed that you do the 11 o'clock presser as well. What are you going to do now that Beryl has resigned?
Barry Jicklin has resigned, and unfortunately, my character has been evicted from the apartment. So the next 11 o'clock presser is probably either going to be the new resident or it's going to be me doing 11 o'clock presser from my new premises. So we'll have to see what that's going to be. But I've enjoyed doing them. I think people like them, so I'm going to keep making them. They take all day to make, pretty much. But we'll give it a go.
I understand that behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, no, they are funny. They're very good. They're very dry. But because
thanks very much.
Sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say thanks very much. I'm intentionally trying to do it as low kind of performance level as possible, like the opposite of what I do on Irrational Fear.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
True to life. True to life.
True to life. Yeah.
Wency, was there anything that you wanted to ask Dan while we have his precious time?
Yeah, just wanted to know what your thoughts are on Scotty not turning up to the COP this year. Is he embarrassed? Are you going to do a campaign against that?
I don't know. Look, why are we so surprised that Scott Morrison would do nothing? No one should be surprised at this. This is exactly what this is true to form for Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison does nothing. Anytime when he is asked to meet the moment, Scott Morrison runs quickly away from the moment and decides not to be a part of the moment. Says, moments, not for me. Thank you very much. Moments, that's for somebody else. So this is what we need to expect of Scott Morrison. The do nothing Scott Morrison meme exists because it's true, because he does nothing. Like, this is a guy that is all he does nothing. He doesn't hold a hose, mate. He doesn't hold an NDC, which is a national determined contribution for people who don't know climate speak. So he doesn't do any of this. All the world's leaders are going to be there. It's going to be the best photo opportunity you'll ever have all year, but he's not going to go. Because what Scott Morrison doing something is anathema to his actual being. He would actually melt in a pool of bile if he actually did something.
People wouldn't even know who he is anyway. They'll go, oh, that guy from
down there.
Where's he from? From down under?
That fella from down under. Yeah. That was very telling, wasn't it? The impression that one man who does nothing can do to have an effect on Joe Biden's consciousness. So
I was going to say, do you think that was his consciousness, Dan, or do you think it was the fact that he's 80? Do you think it was a burn? I thought it was a burn.
It might have been a burn. I don't think. Look, I think Joe's still pretty sharp, man. He's sharp.
I agree with you.
I just think probably Joe just didn't remember Scott's name. Because Scott is very, very forgettable.
Yes, no, very true.
Now, especially in the world stage.
Go for it, Wency.
I was just going to say, especially in the world stage. No, you go, mate.
I was just going to say, with the people watching and listening, Dan, what would you say to them? What they can do from a climate change perspective? What is their little bit they can do to make things, better into the future?
Oh, there's so much you can do. You could, if you have children, you can dismember them and bury them, and that is like, then you get rid of a bunch of people who will no longer make carbon in their lives. No, that's a joke. If you're Jared Henderson and you're listening, that is a joke. Don't do that. I definitely.
Yeah, he's our prime listener, Dan. There's no doubt about it. Old Jared.
Some of the IPA will go through this in a few weeks when I've got $1 million, and then put it out on the internet. Yeah. So don't do that. No, but there's lots of things you can do. Starting off, if you're a middle income earner and you've got and you're doing well for your family in the middle class, you own your own home, you can go electric. Chuck panels on your roof, chuck a battery on your wall, get an electric car, get a heat pump, and then that is so. There's this whole stack of emissions that come out of people's houses that can be completely solved by going completely electric. I did a whole great podcast on this with Saul Griffith on Irrational Fear. If you want to be inspired about climate futures, go to Irrational Fear, download that Saul Griffith chat, and be inspired about how we can all do something to reduce the emissions from our daily living. The other thing you can do is think about your choices every day. Taking the car to the shops is one thing. Cycling is another. And both things will get you there, but only one will not put molecules in the air of carbon dioxide. It's just, these little things that can actually help in aggregate. If you do that every day, then that could be a ton of CO2 you're not putting in the air. That's great. The other thing you can do is change your electricity provider, move your super out of a current super account into a super account that is focused on not investing in fossil fuels. And then the other things you can do are, there's so many little things you can do. But the most important thing you can do is this election, vote for a climate independent in your electorate. We're at a really interesting point where this coming election is actually the most important election in the world, because it will determine how many gigatons of CO2 will be burned and put into the atmosphere. And that is significant. We're still, the Galilee Basin hasn't been dug up yet, but it is scheduled to be dug up. And if we can somehow force the major parties to operate in government in minority and have to negotiate with several climate independents to secure supply, if they do two things: a federal ICAC and a meaningful climate action. All they're going to do is those two very simple things, two extremely popular things the electorate wants. The electorate wants a federal ICAC. The electorate wants meaningful climate action. Every electorate in Australia wants meaningful climate action, but Labor and Liberal will not give meaningful climate action because they're beholden to fossil fuels. And they've got millions of donations in fossil fuels, so they have to make good on those donations to their fossil fuel people. So, where you can support a climate centric independent in your electorate and give them your first preference in this upcoming election. And that alone could save the world.
At the very least, Australia.
Yeah, well, at the very least, Australia. At the very least, you could turn Australia into a world-leading climate, renewable energy superpower, where 1 million jobs will immediately be turned on, where innovation will immediately be scaled up, where production of clean, renewable technology will be home here. We can export that to the world. There's so much opportunity in Australia. One of the biggest infrastructure plants, one of the biggest infrastructure programs that's happening right now is up in the Northern Territory. It's called Sun Cable. They are building a huge solar array to pump electricity from Australia to Singapore. Singapore's done a deal with Sun Cable to sell Australian sunshine into Singapore, because Singapore doesn't have a reliable energy supply. Singapore store most of their energy in tanks. Singapore store most of their energy in big fossil fuel tanks under the ground in these gigantic caverns. So, and they burn a whole sack of oil, and they get electricity from KL, from Malaysia. So they want a sovereign source of energy, and that sovereign source is going to come from Australia. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, they already own half of AusNet electricity, don't they? So
no, I don't know. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Singapore does. So there's a real issue with towers in the Victorian country at the moment, that AusNet's trying to put all these towers up, but a lot of people are particularly concerned about from climate change, because they want to put these massive pylons up rather than bury them underground, because obviously it's a lot cheaper to do that. And there's massive backlash in the regions about that. I'm not sure what it's like in New South Wales regions up there. I don't know if you have the same situations with. Do you have pylons underground more for electricity, or?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a huge. I don't know. I'm not unaware of a lot of electricity infrastructure in New South Wales.
What I was going to say was, at the moment, with the way that the climate situation is, the conversation, the debates that are around both parties, there are moderates in the Liberal Party. So I think in the New South Welsh Liberal Party, I think is it Martin Keane or
Matt Keane.
Well, yeah. So in the state level, the state level is completely different to the federal level. Every state has net zero by 50 targets or greater, and the states are moving far more aggressively, and they've got a more aggressive and ambitious ratchet program. Matt Keane, also been on a Rational Fear podcast, incredibly aggressive and passionate about climate action, but also renewable technology and the environment. He's an incredibly good minister.
Very bright man. Yeah.
Very super bright guy. Shame he didn't become premier this week.
Oh my God.
A real shame. I mean,
that choice.
Matt Keane's also Catholic, but the good kind. So it's really fascinating to see where this is going, because the states are on board and the cities are on board. If you look at the Cities Power Partnership, the list of cities there that have extremely aggressive net zero targets. Some are by 2030. I think Sydney's 2035, Melbourne's about 2035. Brisbane, I think, is already carbon neutral. So what we're seeing is these are councils, not necessarily emissions for everyone. But what you're seeing is the state governments and the local governments are doing extremely well in this area. The federal government is the one that's leaving us behind. The federal one represents all of us overseas, but also they have the most money because that's where most of the tax goes, and they have the most ability to affect what gets built and what doesn't. So this is, and they're paying $20 billion a year in subsidies to fossil fuels. So they could also get rid of some of those fossil fuel subsidies and reinvest those into renewable energy subsidies. Right. So if a deal is done at the next election for supply with these climate folks, who sit in the crossbench, then you could see a rapid move to climate action very quickly from Australia. And we are a huge polluter. We're the third largest dealer in fossil fuels. We're like the fifth largest polluter if you count the fossil fuels that we export overseas and then get burned. That is significant. We're like the largest per capita in terms of emissions. So we are the bad guy. Australia is the bad guy. We are the global pariah. We are the bad guy. It is us, Russia, Saudi Arabia. Like, that is China. It is us, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil. Brazil's actually weakening their climate legislation at the moment. So good company, great company.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Exactly. This is where we are. We're the only Western liberal democracy in Brazil as well, but they're autocrat, aren't they? So,
yes. Bolsonaro.
Where we're at is extraordinary, and I don't know about you, but it doesn't represent me as an Australian, and it makes me furious. So I am so annoyed by this government. I'm so annoyed by their decade of inaction and their decade of going back. As soon as Tony Abbott came in, he unwound a whole bunch of great stuff that we were doing that was world leading, and now we're world trailing, and that is not us.
And that's the thing. You've just hit the nail on the head, Dan. That what I'm tired about of current Australian politics is we're just not world leaders anymore. We could be world leading. Exactly.
Yeah. No, we could be, but we're not. And we have all the technology, all the brains, we have all the sunshine, all the wind. We can do it. And we don't need fossil fuels in our system. And we don't need, we can replace a lot of the stuff that we use for manufacturing with other things like hydrogen gas and stuff like that. So it is incredibly possible. Green steel is being made around the world, but not in Australia. So it's incredibly possible to do. I'm really excited about what some leaders are doing, like Twiggy Forrest with his green hydrogen. I just read this great article that he took $30 million for the gas-led recovery and funneled it into a green hydrogen project. So really annoying Angus Taylor's office there, but like promised to start off a gas project and then ended up turning into a green hydrogen project. So that's exciting. That's the kind of exciting process we can be at, and we can do it, and it's possible to do. And the only people that are holding us back are the two major parties at a federal level. Labor will tell you they're not, and thankfully Joel Fitzgibbon, he's left the Labor Party. But you'll see that they won't stop coal exploration or oil exploration. They're going to.
You've seen the rep that they're trying to replace Joel with, yeah.
No, I haven't. No, who are they trying to replace Joel with?
My God, apparently he's an ex-shooter and he loves coal.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, it's understandable he loves coal. There's a lot of coal workers that live in the Hunter. But what I'd be interested in is if someone there who was in Labor was excited to see coal shut down out of that area, and the workers that live there have a just transition to other industries, but also have a big fat pension that they can all retire on, and that's totally fine. I would rather spend a third of the $20 billion in subsidies in supporting the workforce that helped Australia get to where it is. So the opportunity there is to actually pay these people to retire, pay these people a pension and thank them for their service, and get anyone else who wants out, get some training, and let's pivot that industry to something better. And that is possible. We're rich enough, we've got the money, we can do it.
We're just not having the conversation. That's the problem. It's just they won't have that conversation about transition.
No, they won't because they're worried about votes. So and this is the great thing about this whole new climate independent movement is that if you can get one of these climate independents in, we don't need many more. So have a look at the current, if everything stays the same for this election, what you've got is if all the votes kind of fall the same way, Liberal Party has majority of one. That's the only thing that's letting them lead. They have one seat, and that's letting them lead. So if you get 2 or 3 or 4 climate independents in to shore up that crossbench with climate action-oriented independence, then whoever gets the majority, could be Labor, could be Liberal, they have to operate out of a minority. And that's really exciting. That's when we saw enormous progress back in 2010 when Gillard had to operate out of minority. Gillard passed more legislation than any prime minister ever. And it's all due to the cooperation and the compromise that so those moderate crossbenchers who are really extremely moderate just want to see competent governance. And it's like having a Senate within the lower house. It's like having a Senate within another house. It's like this extra check because you let either the major parties go either the major parties get enormous traction, it means that they are beholden to their donors. They're not beholden to Australians. And that is the biggest fucking problem we have right now in our parliament. This parliament is not serving Australians. Do you guys remember the worldwide global pandemic, COVID-19? Do you remember that?
No, you're going to have to jot.
Okay, so there's this pandemic, right? There's this pandemic a couple of years ago, and Scott Morrison closed Parliament and wasn't going to return for 6 months. Instead, what he did was he got together a group of people to all sort out the pandemic, to sort out the response to the pandemic. So he got together a whole bunch of executives from fossil fuel companies, and he called it the National COVID Committee, the National COVID Coordination Committee, right? And this National COVID Coordination Committee, they spent 3 months deciding what to do. And you know what they decided? The best way to solve a global pandemic based on a respiratory virus? To build a fucking pipeline. They built a fucking pipeline. That was the solution, to build a fucking pipeline. So these people are not serving Australians. They are serving their donors. We need to make that absolutely clear. And particularly people at that executive level are not, when I say executive, the Prime Minister and ministers, those folks are not looking to help us. They're looking to help themselves get a board placement somewhere else after Parliament. And we need to stop that. And the thing that's going to stop that, the short circuit is going to stop that, is getting just some climate independence in there. So you got to do that. That is the number one thing you can do.
So getting back to the start, Dan, the billboard campaign, what are you actually going to have on the billboards? I'm sure you've got lots of ideas.
Well, we've got two great things. We've actually got three for Glasgow. We've got three great things. I'm going to give you an exclusive now.
Nice.
So
you heard
the
it
first
first
one,
on the New Blurt.
The first one is Australia Net Zero by 2300 because I think that's really funny. It's got a picture of a kangaroo that's on fire. That's great. The other one is cuddle a koala before we make them extinct, and it's beautiful artwork done by Brisbane artist called Nordacious. And the third artwork is bought by a famous Australian celebrity, and they want the words, "Dear world, yeah, look, sorry about our government bullshitting. Kind regards, Australia."
Oh, nice. I like it. Very good.
Yeah, so that's great. So I can't tell you who the Australian is, but
no, that's fine. That's okay.
But I could tell you what they've requested. So we're gonna get that up, and we're gonna get that up in those three artworks up on our Glaswegian billboard at the end of the month.
And all three, will they be on the SEC?
I need to talk to Damon, and we need to sort that out this week. And I need to get the specs and stuff. But yeah, it looks like it's all happening. Before I went on the project last week, I double checked with Damon. I said, "Is it okay if I announce this? Is this actually happening?" He said, "Yeah, do it." And I was great.
You've got a lot of traction. You've been on quite a few shows, like the project, like you said.
Like the project, the new Blurt, just all the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
The World Today. I was in the Australian on the weekend. That was good. Jared Henderson's column complaining that he always has this column called the Media Watchdog where he complains about things on the ABC. He was complaining about me being on the ABC, being interviewed about this project, about laughing at my own jokes. But I was having a really good time. So,
Yeah, well, stuff him. Yeah. No, that's. I think that's a badge of honour. If Jared's having a crack at you, that's exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we'll have to get David Marr on here. I'm sure he'll have some nice words about him.
David Marr. I would love to have David Marr just whisper good night to me. That would be good.
Him in one ear and Philip Adams in the other.
The thing is, good night, Daniel. Good night. Absolutely reprehensible.
I'm sure I'll sleep much better after that. Look, Dan, we've absolutely enjoyed your company tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything?
My pleasure.
Do you want anything you want to plug before you go?
Oh yeah, come and listen to Irrational Fear, irrationalfear.com. Sign up to the email, and we send you out the podcast every week. And join us. We talk about it's like the New Blurt. We talk about the news,
just funny.
We talk about climate change, and we got some of the best comedians in Australia come on our show. So do come along.
Absolutely fantastic.
The regulars.
Lewis Hobber's on every week usually, and then this last month we've had Adam Hill's in lockdown, Ross Noble was in lockdown, we had him on, Alice Fraser was on, Alex Lee, so many great names come on our show. Craig Rucastle, Gabby Bolt often is a regular on our show. She's a musician who's becoming the next big thing, so she's often on our show talking and singing songs, and it's great fun.
Talking about Craig Rucastle, as you said, you had him on your show last week. He's got his new documentary out. We promoted last week. Make It a Big Deal, I think it is.
Yep.
.org. And I think I'm actually going to... Have you seen it yet? Have you seen the...
No, I haven't. I haven't yet. I need to... I can't get out because I'm in lockdown, but I need to buy a digital version.
Yeah. So I think I've got a viewing for tomorrow night, so it should be interesting.
Great. Wonderful.
Yes, should be good. Well, again, all I can say is thank you very much for being on our 50th show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and love to see you again.
Happy 50th!
Thanks, Dan. Thanks very much.
Happy L.
Yes. For those who know Roman numerals. See ya.
Oh, how good was that?
All right. How informative.
It was brilliant. I hope everyone enjoyed that. We will have links to a Rational Fear podcast for sure, and some of the other stuff that Dan is
working
doing
on it.
regarding the Billboard campaign, etc. So, but no, that's fantastic. Just to have someone so knowledgeable in that area is particularly good.
Oh, exactly.
And very generous with his time. So that is absolutely brilliant. Now, as I said, our timing of the show and the rundown is slightly skewed by having such an informative guest, and I have totally forgotten what our next segment was. So I need to get the Sting up and going, and I need to get the bubbly flowing as well. So
yes, yeah.
As he said, happy Al.
Happy Al. So it's either on this day or do yourself a favor. What are you going to pick?
Look, give me 2 seconds. I'll surprise you with the Sting. I'll see how we go. And let's see how nimble you are for which one I play.
Okay.
What will it be?
On this day.
So over to you, Lindsay.
On this day. What day is it? Oh, that's right. It's the 5th of October. Okay. Let me start with some general stuff. 1931, the first non-stop trans-Pacific flight between Japan and Washington.
What was that? 1931. What happened?
First non-stop trans-Pacific flight between Japan and Washington.
31. Wow.
Yeah.
Was that does it tell you? Was it a biplane, a triplane, or monoplane?
It looked like it was a monoplane, so just the single wing. Apparently, the pilots had flown from Washington, tried to get to Japan, but they lost course or lost their way and ended up in Siberia. Then they tried to get into Japan. They didn't get the clearance, but they flew there anyway. By the time they landed, they still hadn't cleared their paperwork. And I can't remember if they actually got arrested or whether they had to go through all the political stuff and whatever. And then they managed to hop on the plane again and then fly back to Washington. So it was a bit of an ordeal, but they got there.
Yeah.
They
definitely sounds like an ordeal. 1931.
Yeah, 1931.
Geez, that'd be scary, wouldn't it, in 1931? Because you're saying that's the first one, yeah? Is that right?
Yeah, first non-stop trans-Pacific.
Wow.
So I'm sure there were other longer ones before then or around that time, like between London and Australia or Singapore.
Yeah. What else you got? What else?
1962, the first installment of the James Bond film series, Dr. No, had its world premiere. And it starred, I think it's still my favorite Bond, Sean Connery.
Oh, yes. I wish I could do a Scottish accent. I cannot.
Yeah.
Not for the life of me.
No, same.
No.
Not even going to try.
No. I can do a couple, but definitely can't do Scottish.
No.
I wish Bond was an old redneck South American white man, because then I'd be okay. I would be able to just go, yeah, well, you know,
you got to say that with your name and then how you like your martinis.
Yes, I've got to try to do that. Yeah, well, back in my time when I was still Bond, I say, stir and not stir. But not quite as good as it could be Scottish, you know.
Is that how you get the ladies, is it? Or you used to?
Yeah, and usually your teeth fall out at the same time.
Yeah, true.
I mean, all in one go, not like one at a time.
No. Here's another one you'll like. 1969, the British television series Monty Python's Flying Circus debuted on the BBC.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Gotta love a bit of Monty Python.
Still funny to this day.
Oh, yeah.
a
Always
few
look on
more.
the bright side of life.
Another one, 1980, our Australian Alan Jones wins the United States Grand Prix to claim his first Formula One World Drivers' Championship. So that's the only Australian who's ever won a Formula One championship. in the race
What-
or in that
What
sport.
a shame such a gentleman shares the same name. It's such a
As that person from the radio in Sydney.
Real
Yeah, we
shame.
won't go there. We won't go there.
Nah. Don't want to dirty our show. Keep going.
No. Speaking of dirty, 1988, Chile, which is where I'm from, votes.
I thought it was going to get a bit sexy and naughty there. No, Chile.
No,
okay, yep, go for it.
That's the next one.
In the earth, right.
1988, Chile votes in a referendum 56-44 against extending Augusto Pinochet's regime by 8 years, thus ending his 16 and a half years of dictatorship. Sorry, being in power.
So, back the truck up slightly. Can you just say that again?
So, 1988.
As Luke Darcy would say that again.
Luke Darcy.
Yeah, it's a Triple M joke. It's okay.
Right. Okay. So we don't get that up here, do we?
No, we don't get Triple M listeners. It's all right.
Now you're dirtying the podcast. Sorry to all you Triple M listeners out there.
Yeah, they're probably anti-vaxxers protesting, so it's okay. They won't be listening.
No teeth. Oh, hang on. That's Collingwood supporters.
Now that's us. Now, come on. Seriously.
Yeah, but we're okay.
Look at that. Oh, teeth. Look. Yes, see? Yeah, see? It's all a stereotype. It's all bullshit.
It is.
Anyway,
yes.
on this day, stick to
On
the
this
program.
day, 1988, Chile, we voted to vote Augusto Pinochet to piss off, get out of politics because we'd had enough.
That was a good thing.
I was actually there the year that they voted because I was doing year 11 at the time, and they had all these protests.
I
and
think
stuff.
we've got some of the crowd that were there for the day when he actually finished. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Nice.
All right, next section for
Go
on
for
this
it.
day
Yep,
the
yep.
births.
Yep.
Brian Connolly from Scottish rock singer from The Sweet.
Oh yes. Sweet.
Blitz. Yep.
Ballroom
He was
Blitz.
born-
Is that Ballroom Blitz?
Ballroom
Is
Blitz.
that
Yep. That's the one. He was born in 1945. Brian Johnson, Akadaka songwriter, singer. Born in Dunstan, Gateshead, was born in 1947.
Dunstan Gateshead, Newcastle, UK.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Wow, he's a Geordie.
Yeah.
I never knew it. I never realised that. I thought he was Scotch.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I only
They
know
similar
'cause-
accents.
Yeah, well, my mate's from Gateshead. It's sort of that sort of accent. It's yeah, my mate is from Newcastle, and he's actually from Gateshead. So when you said that, I was like, I thought Brian Johnson was Scottish. I always thought he was Scottish. Anyway,
1958. Neil deGrasse Tyson, American astrophysicist, TV presenter, and writer, was born in New York City.
he is a bit of a legend, sort of movie star for all the people that love their sciencey type shows, like someone like yourself. I would have imagined.
Yes, I'll talk more about him later.
Yes,
I won't give
okay.
away.
Right.
1967.
In this segment or the next one?
The next segment.
Right. So we'll nearly finish this segment up then.
Yep, correct. 1967. Guy Pearce was born. Aussie actor, star of Priscilla's Queen of the Desert.
yes. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Yeah.
And made it in Hollywood. Done a few movies there.
He's done a lot actually. He's done a lot of movies, and he started in Neighbours years ago.
Correct.
And he was an amateur bodybuilder, and he won awards, championships in amateur bodybuilding. And then he eventually went to did go to Hollywood. One of his first really, really good movies. I can see it, but I can't remember it, which is really terrible. But he played a character that lost his memory. And he had all these, and it was a reverse movie. It was one of those that started at the end and then went through, and you sort of, And it was one of the first times I'd seen a movie like that. And he was very, very good in it. I can't for the life of me remember what it was called, but we will put it in the show notes afterwards.
Yeah, we will.
And also, he has been moderately recently the star of the ABC series Jack Irish, which is actually from the book Jack Irish.
Yeah.
And sensational, absolutely sensational in that series.
He does a lot of TV series now in Australia, like you said, Jack Irish and a bunch of others he's been on. But,
he's not a bad musician either. He made an album, I think it was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like everyone seems to on Neighbours.
Yeah, exactly. And the last two things I've got for on this day are the deaths. 2004, Rodney Dangerfield, American comedian, Caddyshack.
How old was he?
82 when he passed.
What was his? Oh, he had a. Oh my goodness gracious!
And he was in a different movie.
Yeah, but he had a catchphrase, and for the life of me, I can't remember. But I do know something about Rodney Dangerfield. He definitely wasn't PC.
No, he wouldn't get away with it these days.
No, not at all. not at all.
And the last one I've got 2011. Steve Jobs, pioneer, personal computer, co-founder of Apple. Blah blah blah. He also passed away, aged 56.
56. Apparently, when he passed away in a house that was basically devoid of any furniture.
Really?
Yeah, not because he obviously couldn't afford it, but because his simplicity in how he liked his environment and how he likes the design of the phone, etc., is all about minimalism.
Right.
So I mean, well, that is the rumor. I would have to fact check that, which obviously we will do on this show, maybe. But he very much. I don't know if you ever saw the film Steve Jobs. It had, I think, Kate Winslet in it, who is basically nearly unrecognizable. Well worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's really, really good. It's very, very much. I don't think it's loosely based. It's very much based on his story. So well worth having a look at.
Funny you mentioned Kate Winslet. I forgot she was born today as well.
Oh, you're absolutely kidding me.
No.
So her birthday's today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So our
1975.
50th birthday shares her birthday. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
That's good. She's one of my favorites. I like Kate.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Kate.
Happy birthday, Kate. And that's all I have for on this day.
Beautiful. Well, I do have a sting for do yourself a favor, but as I've said before on the show, as we get absolutely huge, I don't want to get sued. So I will not be playing this sting. So do yourself a favor is all about the best podcasts. And I know Wency has got some good ones lined up for you. So have a listen. We will have the podcast in the show notes. Our podcast will be out next Monday, as it always is. Yep. And you can get all the links to the show notes there. And as I said before, we'll have all the links to Dan Illic's shows and what he's involved in as well. And also some other links to how you can get involved, what you can do from a climate change perspective, talking about renewables, talking about solarizing your house, etc., etc. And we will put in there the absolute link to the Sol Griffiths podcast that Dan was talking about. I've already listened to it. I don't know if Wency has, but it's an absolute cracker. And as we say, do yourself a favor. Definitely listen to that podcast if you want to have anything to do with trying to save Australia to get out of this massive, horrible climate change mess that we are in. Go for it, Wency.
My one's a very quick one. I mentioned him earlier on this day. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a podcast called Star Talk, where he talks all things space related. He talks about. He has special guests from different fields of astronomy or astro sciences, things like volcanoes. They talk about Space Force, that special defense department that was created under Trump, I believe, and was made into a TV show.
Yes, I couldn't get into that show. Did you watch it?
I loved it. And kids loved it too.
All right.
And yeah, it's great. Yeah, so
I couldn't get
he
into
talks
it.
about all sorts of stuff.
I remember Steve Carell singing a song next to a window, and then a rocket blew up. That was pretty funny. I did find that pretty funny. There were some really weird things in it.
Yeah.
And I imagine it has to do with the fact that it was, Trump behind it in the first case, as it were.
Yeah. So I think they were sort of taking the piss out of that Space Force department, but then
maybe you have to try to maybe you'll have to try to give it another go.
Yeah, I hope they made a second series because that was really we really enjoyed it.
All right.
Yeah.
You've okay. You convinced me. I'll have to give it another
watch it
crack.
again. But listen to Star Talk. Episodes go from 45 minutes to an hour. It's got just about every week.
Where are they, Wency? Are they Spotify? Or because I know
Spotify,
everything's
that's
changing.
I listen to it, so I'm assuming it's on all the other aggregators.
Oh, don't assume. The one that you gave me a while ago that I love, I haven't listened to for a while, How to Save a Planet, another one I highly recommend. You can't get it anywhere unless you are on Spotify.
So they must be exclusive to Spotify.
Yeah, it looks like it. And it looks like, as we've said before, it looks like a few more are going to Acast as well.
Yeah.
Which is owned by Spotify, I believe. But you can get us everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But, we're plentiful.
We don't discriminate.
No, we don't. We
love them all.
We do. I've got a couple that I wanted to talk about, and if you've got any more. Obviously, I'm just going to re-mention the Irrational Fear podcast because it is an absolute cracker. And as Dan listed off all the comedians, the last week's one, I think, had Ben Jenkins and I wish I knew the girl's name. I really, honestly, I hate it when I forget names. And she's a Melburnian too. And she has her own podcast called the Snortcast. So you can look at that one. And Ben Jenkins has his own podcast as well. And Ben Jenkins is from the Chaser group the Checkout, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and he has his own podcast as well. Not sure. Can't remember.
Every man and his dog's got the podcast. Jeez.
No, I'm pretty sure their dog does have their own podcast.
Oh, do they? Competing with the dogs now?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's it. Well, apparently they're rating higher than we are. So yeah, but yeah, no. So that's an absolute cracker. So yeah, some fantastic people on that one, and yeah, so many of them have their own podcast. I know for a fact that Ross Noble has his own podcast as well. I have no doubt Adam Hills probably does. Yeah. But the one I'm going to talk about at the moment is I've talked about democracy sausage, etc., and Australian politics, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to try to get away a little bit from that. There's another one I picked up the other day. It's called China Rising. If you actually want to know, it's by a Canadian guy. And if you actually want to know the last 10 episodes, it's been going for a while, but the last 10 episodes are really, really interesting. And they concentrate on the racism in Canada. So I imagine it is Canadian on China Rising. And I think the last episode, which was actually should have been the last episode, but they made another one because 2 Canadians just got released from a Chinese prison who had been there. Oh, yeah. You might have seen that in the news. So they made the last special podcast because of that actual situation. So that's one I would recommend. And the other one, I think I've recommended it before, but I just want to recommend it again, is Pod Save the World. What I love about it so much is that, one, you know me, I like long form. It goes for quite a while. It's about an hour or so, hour and a half, I think, maybe. And it's international. That's what I love about it so much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the guy used to work with Obama. They've got all the insights. They've got fantastic connections. They've got a great chemistry on the podcast. And they have fantastic, really, really interesting guests. But as I say, they go to Africa, they go to Burma, they go to China, India. They've got all these different sort of connections and journalists and sort of people on the ground that they get the eyewitness account of what's actually happening. And yeah, it's really, really, it is really interesting and at times really scary and sad to actually know what else is going on in the world that even with the internet, we are not finding out about. So yeah, interesting. Do you have any others at all?
No, it's just that one I had time to listen to this week.
All right. Well, I think that's your lot tonight, Blurtsters. I really do hope you enjoyed that. I had an absolute ball.
Absolutely agree with that.
We will again say thanks so much for our special guest, Dan, for being on the show. He was absolutely fantastic to give us his time. And hopefully maybe we may see him again sometime in the future. And we wish him obviously all the best with the billboard campaigns. And if you want to get involved, if you want to donate to the campaign, we will definitely make sure, as I said, the links will be in the show notes at the end of the show. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Wency, before we go?
Go get vaccinated, everyone, and think green, save the planet.
Nice work. Happy birthday, Luke, for last week.
Yes, happy birthday, Luke, for last week.
See you, Blurtsters. See you on the other side.